This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP, October 9th, 2018.
Mr. Green.
I'm found to be the nicest. On the mic it with rhyme right in my mind states gone cipher divine righteous. This is the sound of refinement. Extra time spent on every line written. You can hear the difference when I'm rhyming. The barbarian rap writings like Clash of the Titans. I wield the pen like Poseidon holding the golden triton. On the mic I strike faster than vipers and flashes of bolts of lightning. My poetry will leave the Pope enlightened. Whack rappers is past time. You paid the Pied Piper as the price just skyrocket. I stand to make a profit. I rap circles and spirals above your favorite artist like an identifiable flying object with balls so far over your head. I'm honest to be rhyming in high orbit. If I dumb the metaphors down, you think the sky was falling. Rappers' arms too short to shadow box with the lords in the pantheon of rap. I'm the high exalted. The new God flow, prepare your offering. I treat the booth like the synagogue cause the mic's my calling. I should congregate a following. Although agnostic, you felt the flow was God sent, further personifying my Messiah complex. I'm a wordsmith, the Wizard of Oz over percussion, throwing up sick bars. My flow fucking disgusting. Cutting edge caliber, higher purpose and vision. We write our own rhymes, you buying verses that's written. Mixed martial bars that'll beat you into submission. Lethal like a steel desert eagle with precision. Switch the elements, I'm the alchemist when I'm mixing metals. Accelerate on these devils, we reaching different levels in my own zone in this game. Like I play alone, breaking bones like a giant in the Game of Thrones. I hire breathe like a dragon when he fire breathe. I'm never separated from the mic, it's like we Siamese. Ultramagnetic MCs spit it magnificent. So deliberate with the sickest shit, it's ridiculous. Patterned after the greatest to ever do it, the legends. Destined to manifest on this earth, what's up in heaven. And 24/7, this presentation is feature worthy. Got so much class, I study, I'm never leaving early. Every song sensational, heavy rotational. Snakes will try to copy this style, but they not capable. Overcame problems, could damage a man's confidence. And now we making music that travels across continents. You could call me Mars with these bars, I'm like the god of war. A battle rap cannibalistic beast, a carnivore.
And welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with your boy KP. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday, October 9th, 2018? I hope everybody's doing good. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to try and get to as much information as we can because there's been a lot that has taken place since our show on Thursday, which, you know what, I'm going to put a big shout out to Sean Brown of the Salt Lake Stallions for joining us on Thursday. We're going to get you on again. Audio problems will be fixed. For those of you who tuned in, said, hey, KP, you know, we can't hear Sean. If you turn it way up, you can hear him. We had a little problem with the equipment. Was not able to get it fixed during the interview, but we will have that fixed for the next time for sure. Now, all kinds of things politically, sports-wise, took place over the weekend since we last spoke on Thursday, right? So we got a lot to get to today. We're going to catch up on the Major League Baseball playoffs, where they're at. We have these Odell Beckham comments that came out on Friday. The chaos after the Conor McGregor Khabib fight. Broncos Country is in a panic mode right now. The fans, the pundits, everybody's just acting silly and talking crazy right now. So we're going to get into that. We also have the Week 5 results, of course. Drew Brees owned Week 5. We're definitely going to talk about Drew Brees becoming the all-time passing leader and his place in history. We want to get to, hey, we haven't talked about KP Showdown, the third annual fantasy league this year. We haven't talked about where that's at. If we have time, we'll get up to that. Went and joined Kyle Berry's fantasy basketball league. We'll talk about that if we get some time. And then at the end of the show, we're definitely going to have some real talk on this Supreme Court situation. And we're going to play a great song by Lindsay Lab that pretty much sums it all up, entitled Scary Time. You can follow her on Twitter at Mercedes Linz. Just a great song. Sums everything up real well. Puts some humor and some seriousness to it. So we'll play that at the end of the show. That track you just heard was the Barbarians, entitled Intro. All right, let's kick it off. We're going to start with the Major League Baseball playoffs, see where they are at. If you are a Colorado sports fan, you had a tough weekend this weekend. The Broncos got beat. The Rockies got swept out of the playoffs. Just not good for the sports franchises here in Denver over the weekend. So they get swept by the Brewers. The Dodgers have moved past the Braves in 4. On the American League side, the Red Sox are up on the Yankees 2-1, and the Astros have moved past the Indians to the next round. Yankees put it on the Indians last night, and the Astros put it on the Indians last night. Yankees lose 16-1 to the Red Sox in just an embarrassing fashion in the playoffs. Astros close out the Indians 11-3. Indians have really fallen off from their World Series run just a couple years ago. So the Astros are awaiting the winner of the Red Sox-Yankees matchup. There is Game 4 in that matchup tonight. Game 5 will be on Thursday. And the Dodgers will be taking on the Brewers in the NLCS. That will kick off on Friday, either on one of the Fox networks. The entire NLCS will be on one of the Fox networks. The entire ALCS, which will kick off on Saturday, will be carried on TBS. And the World Series will be carried on Fox, kicking off on Tuesday, October 23rd. So you look at the teams that are left, really none of them are surprised except the Brewers, small market team. They made some key trades. They got better. They got hot at the right time of the year. The Dodgers, everybody kind of expected to make that another run again this year after what they did last year. Astros, defending World Series champions. And then you got the Yankees and the Red Sox, who everybody expects to be in it every year anyway with their payroll and the teams they can put out on the field. Should be a good game tonight for the Red Sox and the Yankees. I personally think the Red Sox close out the series tonight and take it 3-1. I know the TV execs and Yankees fans are all sitting around hoping that the Yankees can get it tonight and that they can go back to Boston on Thursday for Game 5. As really, face it, this series is going to be the most exciting series of any of them that are left, including the World Series, just because of the rivalry factor involved here. But you're down to good teams. I mean, the Brewers, their lineup is solid. They have a great bullpen. Their starters are good. They're playing well. They're going to have the National League MVP, the batting champion, all those kind of things. The Astros, probably the best overall team in baseball, didn't go out and chase anything this year. Red Sox, solid club, put up a lot of numbers, put up a lot of wins. Their pitching can let them down at times along with their hitting. I mean, sure, they put up 16 last night, but they put up 2 on Saturday. So you want more consistency at this time of year. You want guys making more contact. You want guys getting moved over. And now they're playing the Yankees. So, I mean, that's not really the game you play against the Yankees. Against the Yankees, you just got to hit more home runs and score more runs because they're going deep. They're going to play big ball. They don't have the best pitching staff in New York. But we're getting down to the thick of it. The World Series is almost here. We might crown a new champion. Right now, the Astros are still in it. And to be the man, you have to beat the man. And right now, nobody has knocked the Astros out. And they're sitting there resting, waiting for the winner of tonight's matchup and for that series to wind down. So that's where we're at with baseball. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. There's other stuff we have to get to today. Let's move on to the Odell Beckham comments that came out. He's sitting there with Lil Wayne, getting interviewed by Josina Anderson. Does he throw Eli under the bus? Does he throw the offense under the bus? It's all about his play. He just signed the big contract, 5 years, $95 million, $65 million guaranteed, something like that. So you look at his comments. You look at him not directly say really anybody's name. He kind of mentions Eli. he talks about, Eli's not a runner. He's not going to run. He's not getting outside of the pocket. You know, he's been taking these short routes and taking them 60, and that's fun. But he's busy watching what everybody else does and wants to do what everybody else does and wants the big play down the field and not a team guy. Now, he might be right. Maybe this is all on the offense. This is all on Eli. I personally don't see it that way. I don't see Eli as being the main reason that the Giants are having trouble getting going. That offensive line is underperforming. The left side of the line, which I thought would be muchly improved, and with Saquon Barkley, they'd be pounding that side with the running game. It hasn't come around. They let their right tackle, who used to be their left tackle, who was a 2015 first-round draft pick, one pick ahead of Todd Gurley, Eric Flowers, go this morning. Eric Flowers, where he was not playing well and clearly cannot pass block in the NFL from the tackle position, he's going to find a spot on another roster. Now, maybe a team decides, we're going to use him as a run blocker. We're going to use him on the right side. We're going to push help to his side. We're going to line a tight end over there all the time. Maybe somebody moves him into guard. Maybe he's just a backup depth guy for somebody down the road. Who knows? But his time in New York was definitely up. Eli's play, yes, he's not this athletic Madden video game type quarterback. He's a traditional football player. If you give him time in the pocket, if you give him that 2 or 3 seconds to find the receiver, he is a good quarterback in the NFL. He's one of the best playoff clutch performers from the quarterback position that we've seen. He doesn't get rattled that easy. He lets a lot of stuff go. He's not the vocal guy out there, so that makes him an easy target when all this stuff comes around, especially in this day and age where we all want to give all the credit to the quarterback and then tear him down and bench him if they have a bad game. Now, this has been happening to the Giants for 2-3 seasons now, where they've had talent. Guys like me have thought, okay, this team's going to take the step forward this year. They got the right pieces. They're going to win the division. And it's not happening. That comes back to coaching. You're not putting your guys in a position to win. You're creating a game plan. But are you taking advantage of your guys' skill set? Are you putting them in positions to be successful, i.e. what Belichick has done for so long in New England? To me, that's the best coaching. Not the coach who can game plan the best and comes up with this miraculous game plan on paper. It's the coach who can take what players he has and go, you know what, you do this, and you do this really well, and you do that really well, and here's how we're going to use that, and we're going to make you successful. We're going to put you in on 3rd and 10 because you're a good cover linebacker. We're not going to have you in on 1st and 10 because stopping the run isn't your strong suit. You're really good in the slot, or you've lost a step recently as far as being, the top guy. So we're going to move you into the slot, and we're going to give you a couple extra plays here and there from that position so that you can be productive on offense, be in the flow, and not get lost. The Cardinals did that with Larry Fitzgerald. It revitalized the end of his career. He was becoming the guy they didn't really pass to on the outside, to a guy who can dominate the middle of the field. Other teams can use these strategies. For whatever reason, I don't know why they don't, or they're just not successful at doing it and pinpointing what that player's success is. Now, Odell, he's the voice, he's the face of that team right now. Saquon's going to be right there with him. They don't have a guy on the defensive side of the ball for that New York. At the tight end receiver Evan Ingram hurt, but he might be back on Thursday. Olivier Vernon might be back on Thursday for that defense. They've also been subject to some really, really bad refereeing almost like they've got the Lions cursed this year. Because I can't say the Lions are cursed now. All the calls that they got against Green Bay this week, are you kidding me? The refereeing right now is horrible. Landon Collins, Janoris Jenkins, these guys talking about the refereeing and how bad it is and something's got to be done. Trust me, I'm with you. Something has to be done. But again, going back to Odell's comments about the offense and wanting all the stuff that was about me, I want to do this, I want to be like everybody else. You can't have that. You're a losing team. You need publicly and outwardly to just be united, solid. This is my guy. Now, behind closed doors, you go do whatever you got to do to get the team right. Say whatever you need to say, players-only meetings, cuss each other out, get in a fight, whatever you got to do. You figure it out as players behind closed doors. But to the public, you don't go do that. Not as a $95 million, $65 million guaranteed guy, the new face, the new big-time, contract. Honestly, his comments and then looking at his $65 million guaranteed and the type of player he can be or thinks he can be with some kind of high-flying quarterback, his number probably would have been higher if it weren't for stuff like this. He might have gotten 70, 75, 80 million guaranteed if it weren't for stuff like this. His coach is talking about now, we're done talking about Odell controversies. And he's only been the coach for a short time, not even a full season. So no, just like what happened in Pittsburgh with the offensive lineman and other players talking about Le'Veon Bell's contract and his money, Odell, you don't come out and make these comments about your quarterback, even if everybody thinks you're right, which I don't. I think there's a whole lot of problems on that team right now. I think there's a lot of guys on that team that like getting paid to play football, but don't like to play football. There's a culture change that needs to happen right now there. And, for lack of a better way to put it, they need to grow a pair. They need to toughen up, man up, go out there and do their job. Stop getting beat all over the field. That'll help a whole lot of stuff. So no, I'm not a fan of Odell's comments. I think they were wrong. I think he was acting the fool because he was sitting next to Lil Wayne. And, he felt cool and he likes to be the celebrity. So look at me. I'm going to make my little comment, make my homeboy laugh a little bit. That's how I read that, as immaturity. As a kid being a kid. Didn't know better. Doesn't fully understand the rules and bylaws that are unwritten in a locker room. And how that can affect a whole squad. Now you're starting to divide people. Who's on Team Eli? Who's not on Team Eli? What's the problem with the offense? Just causing problems. For a team that's 1-4 when you're supposed to be figuring it out. Not what you're looking for. Not what they were looking for coming into this season for sure. Conor McGregor was not looking for that ass whooping he got on Saturday night. All that stuff he came out and he pulled a Ronda Rousey. He pulled I was a good fighter who became a celebrity. I lost my edge. I lost my focus. Got my butt whooped by Floyd Mayweather. Now I'm coming into this fight. I made it all personal. I threw the dolly at the bus and shattered the window and created that whole event at the Barclays Center. I tweeted out today, the UFC is becoming stupid, just dumb with all this stuff. It's not even like, with the WWE, you can just, shrug it off, haha, whatever. That's sports entertainment. It's quote unquote fake, right? It's written. They're actors. Very athletic, very gifted, talented performers. But their roles are written. So when they go and break a limousine or pretend to turn over a truck or throw somebody off the walkway, it's like, oh, wow, look, great show. But in the UFC, what do you want to see? Guys acting stupid? Or great fighters, all-around fighters. The Randy Coutures, the Chuck Liddells, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. These guys that came in and they respected the sport and they fought. Not these clowns that want to come out and jump over the cage and talk all this smack and all this extracurricular BS. Nobody wants that. Fools want that. Fools pay tickets to see that. The fans that made the UFC what it is, they don't want to see this stuff. Was the melee interesting? Sure, for about 5 minutes. I didn't buy the fight. I'm not paying that much for these fights. I watch them, but I'm not paying for them. And the melee, it was like, oh, whoa, what's happening? But then the more you see the different angles, the more you see what's going on, a lot of it looks staged. Now, I know a couple guys from each camp got arrested or whatever, but you look at Khabib. He jumps over the cage because he's all upset. The guy talked about his religion, his father, and his country. He jumps over the cage, starts to confront him, and then he turns and covers himself, gets backed up with security, and the whole melee takes place without him. He doesn't throw a punch. He stops talking. He's not running his mouth. His face don't look angry. Go look at all the other angles. After he jumps off the octagon down to the ground where the McGregor's trainer was, he doesn't do any. He almost cowers with the way he curls up and goes behind security. So that whole melee's going on. The trainers are fighting. The two teams are fighting with each other. Security's getting involved. MGM or whichever place they were at, their security's trying to break it up. And then it kicks off in the ring. Khabib's guy jumps in the ring. Sucker punches McGregor from behind. McGregor started to get up on the cage at one point. He actually threw a punch at one of Khabib's guys. And then a melee kicks off in the ring. A little small one. Nothing like the one outside. But none of it was necessary. You just went in and beat the notorious was over, you went outside and took pictures. Hey, Dana, thanks for my belt. I know where you park. Then you went home and you put on, your traditional robes and garbs, and you sat around with the family and kicked it. And there was no hostility. You just watched the fight. You were cool. I'm sorry, but when somebody's done something wrong to me, within an hour or two later, I'm not just kicking back with a smile on my face. I'm still heated. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still processing it. There was no processing going on, even from McGregor's side. They both looked like that was the plan. And then instantly, let's get a rematch. We lost the bout but won the battle. The war goes on. Nice knock. Can't wait for the rematch. Let me call Dana. I want an immediate rematch. When does the challenger, not the champion who lost his belt, but the challenger, the guy who's been away from the sport for 2 years and all he did was lose a boxing match in that time, get to come back and demand a rematch? No, you don't get a rematch right away. You want a rematch, you earn it. Your next fight should be against Nate Diaz so he can whoop that ass again. Because Conor, he's a product now. He's a brand. He's not a fighter. His prime time is over. He might win a fight here or there again, but he's not going to be the guy he was ever again. Too many interests now. He's a brand. He's got a whiskey. He's got a son. Another kid on the way. He's made his money. He is moving on to other things. He is going to be Ronda Rousey if they're not careful. And what I mean by that is you don't sign him up for another fight right away. He needs to get in and train. He needs to take some warm-up fights against lesser opponents so much so he can get beat up a little bit. Get some of that real confidence back and not just that media bravado that everybody buys into. But yeah, I'm just done with it. The UFC and all this nonsense, I'm done with it. And if Khabib doesn't know why everybody's talking about him, Because they saw you jump out of the ring. They were reacting. They didn't see all the videos where you actually don't do anything after you jump out of the ring. You push somebody, but then you turn your right shoulder in and you're behind security the rest of the time. They're talking about you because you started the spectacle. They talked about everything else everybody else said that you brought up the rest of the time. You didn't get the belt put on you as the champion for tapping out McGregor because you decided to act a fool. Because you wanted to be like him. Silly. Just stupid. Just dumb. Ruined the whole thing for me, honestly. Alright, Broncos Country, I got a message for you. You need to get out of panic mode. I'm a Lions fan. Been a Lions fan for a long time. But I've grown up in Broncos Country. Okay? Been in Denver area. Went to college in Colorado. All that good stuff, right? I've never seen a fan base that used to be as strong as Denver's start acting like a pathetic little child so much as they are right now. And I'm not just talking about the average fans. I'm talking about the experts who work for the radio stations. I'm talking about the guys who are feeding the narrative to the fans on the radio waves here. I'm talking about the national people who are picking up on it and saying the same stuff. And sure, this is the third year in a row the Broncos have struggled, not been a real playoff contender, not been, going for the Super Bowl. But this is also the third straight year you're blaming the players solely, not holding the coaches accountable. A little bit now. Now we're starting to hold the coaches accountable, but just in the sense that let's react and everybody should be fired. Firing anybody in the middle of the season does not make your team better. Okay? That's first. You want to make a coaching change? Great. There probably should be a coaching change. But guess what? Coaches, players, management, that all ties into how this team's going. It flows downhill. It starts with Elway. Okay? Great player. One of my favorite quarterbacks on the field of all time. His reputation as a GM and a team builder is not warranted. He has not been a good GM, period. He landed Peyton Manning because who he is as a player, not because of who he is as a GM. The other guys who came to the team came because of Peyton Manning, the DeMarcus Wares, the Talibs, the TJ Wards. Those guys came because of Peyton Manning, not because of John Elway. John Elway has made bad draft picks. He has made bad signings. They're eating money this year from Menelik Watson's bad contract. Paxton Lynch shouldn't have been drafted. Garrett Bowles should be on the chopping block. You can't eat a third contract this year because you don't know how to draft, and you take guys because they're athletic with potential. He shouldn't be the GM. You want to have him as the head, the president of football operations, fine. But he should not be the ipso de facto deciding guy. It's a good thing they brought Kubiak in. I personally think that's the reason they had the draft they had this year. But this idea that you're benching Keenum, no. Get over it. You're wrong. Keenum's the guy. He's injured right now. He's playing behind a porous offensive line. Bill Musgrave's not calling a good game where everything's in rhythm and they're attacking the other team's weaknesses. The defensive secondary is not what it was anymore. Bradley Roby is a third corner, should not be a starter, can't be a starter. He's an underperformer there and always will be. Chubb is underperforming because they're playing him as a linebacker. They should be in a 4-3. He should be a defensive end. Vaughn coming off the other side. And everybody's attacking Vaughn. Where's your splash plays? Why aren't you as good as Khalil Mack? Khalil Mack has passed you. Vaughn is a different beast, okay? But you do have to put players in positions to be successful. And Chicago's doing everything they can to put Mack in a position to be successful. You don't have Talib. Roby is not a satisfactory replacement for him. The safeties are average in the pass, pretty solid in the run, except for against the Jets. They lack a pass rush right now. They're not stopping the run. They're being out physical. They're giving up. They're not motivated. That falls to coaching. But ultimately, it all comes down to Elway's reign as the helm, what's happening right now with this team. They do need a real head coach. Vance Joseph should not have been the guy that was hired. Elway wanted to get rid of him at the end of last year. The coordinators are no good. Talk already, let's bring in Kubiak. Let's bring Mike Shanahan back. No, Kubiak doesn't want to be a coach. Mike Shanahan is not going to work for John Elway and let John Elway be the boss of everything. The play calling. If you know your quarterback has an above 100 passer rating on play action and a below 80 passer rating on non-play action, call the right plays. But this panic mode that's going on, I mean, and then you basically eating Marquette King's contract too. I forgot about him. But this panic mode, this idea that the season's over and you got to blow everything up and it can't be figured out or adjusted or schemed is ridiculous. Broncos fans, people who cover the Broncos, are not used to the Broncos struggling, so they don't know what to do except to begrudge people, except to put people down, to point out faults of individuals in the ultimate team game. Relax. You're 5 games in. You're 2-3. This is not a video game. You have been playing with some grit. You had no grit against the Jets this week. You played like children against grown men, similarly to the way the Lions did week 1. But this panic mode you're on, calling out your big stars, saying they need to be benched, Chad Kelly's not coming in and playing better behind that offensive line than Case Keenum is. The running game is not going to get better because you put Chad Kelly in the game. You still have an offensive line that's broken. Valdeir's playing right tackle. He should be a left tackle. Garrett Bowles shouldn't be in the NFL. We don't know what he's like as a guard, but you know he can't swing to the other side and play right tackle. He's a guy that shouldn't have been drafted in the first round. If you want a project tackle, you get him in a different round. I don't care how athletic he is. McGovern's not getting it done at guard. Maybe you play him there. But please relax, Denver, because I'm sick of hearing it here. As a Lions fan, we've learned to deal with struggle. Maybe it's your turn to learn to deal with struggle. Stop panicking. Stop saying everybody sucks and everybody needs to be benched and these guys are over the hill and what can we get for this and what can we get for that. And I know that's actually common around a lot of the NFL with a lot of fan bases. It's just out of the norm to hear here from Broncos Country. There's normally a lot of optimism, a lot of hope with this team. And with the most talent they've had in the last 3 or 4 years, this year, I get it. You're let down. You're feeling bad. You want better results. You expect to win. You don't know how to deal with losing. Well, hey, law of averages says you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. You have a solid club. They need to figure it out. You're a couple pieces away here and there on each side of the ball from being a very good team. You have young pieces that are still figuring it out in Cortland Sutton, Royce Freeman, Phillip Lindsay, Bradley Chubb. Put him in a position to be successful. Stop having him drop back into coverage. Let him run the passer. Let him learn how to set the edge. You'll be fine. There's a lot of teams that wish they had the players. Vikings, remember? They got rid of Case Keenum for Kirk Cousins. What's their record? They only have 2 wins. 2-2-1. So you're no worse than the guy you didn't get that the other team paid way more money for. So chill out. If you go on a 6-game win streak or you beat LA this weekend, all of a sudden you guys look silly because you're like, yeah, we're the best. We beat LA. Woo-hoo! When coming into it, you wanted to blow everything up. You're not 0-16. You're nowhere near 0-16. Do you look like a Super Bowl contender right now? No. There's only a couple teams that do. One in each conference, actually. Kansas City and LA. And LA, their defense isn't playing that well, so they kind of took a step back to the pack right now, while Kansas City's defense played really well this weekend. So let's get into those results real quick. Tell you who won what this weekend. Patriots beat the Colts. Bills surprised the Titans 13-12. Steelers all over the Falcons 41-17. The Jets run the ball down the Broncos' throat, out their butt, and down the sewage drainage system to the treatment plant and back. Chiefs beat up the Jaguars. Jaguars, no offense. Chiefs score on defense. Chiefs score on special teams. They only had 2 offensive touchdowns in this game, scoring 30 points. Lions beat up the Packers 31-23 in a game they wouldn't have won if Mason Crosby doesn't have the worst day of his kicking career, missing 5 field goals and an extra point, or 4 field goals and an extra point. The Browns beat the Ravens in overtime. That is, I think, their 3rd overtime game in the first 5 weeks this year. The Panthers, in a game that the refs cost the Giants, win on a 63-yard field goal, 33-31. The Bengals, Geno Atkins leading the NFL in sacks right now from the defensive tackle position, beat up the Dolphins 27-17 as the Dolphins lose in back-to-back weeks. Chargers all over the pitiful Raiders. Cardinals beat up the 49ers 28-18. Vikings get by the Eagles 23-21. Not impressed with either one of those teams right now. Seattle brought it to LA. At home, they held strong. Closer game than I definitely expected as the Rams win 33-31 late. I had the Cowboys-Texans as a 16-17 game. Texans win 19-16. And then the Saints behind Drew Brees go out and blow out Washington on Monday night 43-19 as Drew Brees becomes the all-time passing yardage leader in the NFL. Now, Drew Brees is the all-time passing yards leader, and we'll get to some of his other stats, but we're also going to get to the what if, the butterfly effect everybody's been talking about. So he's first in passing yards all time, second in attempts all time, first in completions all time, fourth in touchdowns, only one behind Tom Brady currently, fourth in quarterback rating all time, first in yards per game, first in completion percentage. Is he underrated, overlooked, or just a product of the game? Look, he's underrated. He's always been talked of as he's the best of the short guys. He's the best of the guys that are under 6 foot. He's the, this, that, and the other. No, he's just a good quarterback. And depending on what you want for your team or how you want your quarterback to play or your offense to run, he's easily top 10 all time, arguably top 5 all time. You could make that argument. Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports wrote, I get everyone is passing now. Brees' record will be broken for sure. But let's think about it. Brees plays 2 more seasons, which Frank doesn't think he's anywhere near being done. He'll have 80,000 yards in his career. That equates to needing 16 5,000-yard seasons to get to 80,000 yards. There have only been 4 non-Brees 5,000-yard seasons ever. So to get to the area, the world that he's living in, that he just passed Peyton Manning in, that Tom Brady's going to be living in, that Brett Favre is living in. 16 years of 5,000 yards, and there's only been 4 other times outside of Drew Brees where players have done that ever. So good luck. Maybe his career yardage mark gets passed. 16 years? Are you telling me that in 16 years you think Patrick Mahomes and some of these young guys are still going to be playing? No. We don't even know if the NFL is going to exist the same way in 16 years with the way it's going now. 16 years of 5,000 yards a season. Unbelievable. So the butterfly effect. And that goes to how underrated he is as well. That it would take you 16 years of passing for more yards every year than has ever been done. So if he doesn't get hurt in San Diego, what happens to San Diego? Does he go on to win Super Bowls with LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates, Vincent Jackson, and guys like that would have been there at that time? Does Phillip Rivers end up having the career he has? Because he's the reason San Diego's been good or had a chance each and every year. He's also another underrated guy. Now, Brees has got a Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers didn't, so we don't know exactly where that would have gone. If the Dolphins sign him, does Nick Saban leave? Do they not bring in Dante Culpepper? What happens in Miami? Who knows there? And if he doesn't go to New Orleans, do the Saints ever win a Super Bowl? Because he turned that franchise around. He made it attractive. He made other guys want to come play there and be part of that offense that Sean Payton was building with him. He went through the hard years and got to the good years. What if he decided to retire after the injury against the Broncos that tore his shoulder up, that Miami didn't pass him on a physical for and is now kicking themselves? Miami had a shot at Drew Brees twice. Dave Wannstedt didn't want to draft him out of college, and they drafted somebody else when the ownership or somebody else was like, we need to take this kid. So they missed out on him twice. His impact on that city of New Orleans, he became legendary status after Katrina. We're going to skip the Fantasy League today. Just don't have time to get to it. I do want to shout out Kyle Berry here from a couple of different network or radio shows that he works with as the board guy for inviting me to join his fantasy basketball on ESPN. It's going to be an auction format. Never really done that before, but I'm interested. It's going to be fun. So thanks for including me in that. And I mean, really think back and just appreciate what you're watching right now in sports. We've gotten so divided and so divisive, and we want to say everybody sucks, and this team sucks, and that guy sucks. Appreciate it, because you can't go out there and do what they do. That's why you're sitting on the couch telling everybody they suck. Okay? You're not going out there and taking that beating. You couldn't get to that level even if you played. I couldn't get to that level, and I played, because I wasn't willing to make the sport that I love a business. So appreciate it, Broncos fans. Appreciate it, football fans with a Drew Brees. Stop trying to find reasons to knock everything. Let's take it back to being about love, about peace, about coming together, about being real. If you don't like me, fine, you don't like me. We don't have to hang out. We don't have to talk. Maybe I like somebody you know and you like somebody I know. Doesn't mean we have to, be buddies when we see each other. It just means we have mutual friends. So now I got some real talk on the Supreme Court. I'm going to get to it quick because I really want to play Lindsay Labb's song. What we saw this weekend was the end of democracy. We put it to critical condition. We took it off life support and we buried it. Women, you deserve better. Brock Turner's grow up to be Judge Kavanaugh, who then let Brock Turner off. It is embarrassing to be part of the United States right now. It is even more embarrassing to be a white male in this country right now. It is despicable where we're at. We're not what we think we are. The people who have bought into the rhetoric, I feel sorry for you. We're not the greatest country because we can kick somebody's ass or blow them up. We're not the greatest country because we have bombs. We're not the greatest country because our education system's failing, because our infrastructure's weak, because we're infighting and divided. Because we let the government take control over everything and we sat back and became sheep. The dumbing down of America was real. Women, you did not deserve how you were being treated. Your voices matter. The young men, if you go and commit sexual assault, you should have to live with that for the rest of your life. No matter how much longer somebody comes back and calls you out on it. That's real talk. Until next time, before I start getting crazy, let's go to Lindsay Labb with her song about this situation. Thank you, Lindsay Labb, for making this song. Scary Time.
I can't walk to my car late at night while on the phone. I can't open up my windows when I'm home alone. I can't go to the bar without a chaperone. I can't wear a mini skirt if it's the only one I own. I can't get close to the thinking after 7 p.m. I'm waiting to do the auto use my head in my DMs. I can't go to the bar just to dance with my friends. And I can't ever leave my drink unattended. But it's sure it's scary time for boys. Yeah, gentlemen, band together, make some noise. It's really tough to play with everything on the line. And I wanna give you both of this because I love it. Yeah, it's sure it's scary time. I can't really keep it in one. Yeah, I don't know. the right to give you attitude. Yeah, it sure is baby time. Just like the act you would play when you're the big except the short and sweet and nothing and blah 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 blah. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. It's not like baby time. We're always happy, always had a choice. Time to win it, to rise up, time to let me in. One day, so let's go make up.